Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
Great to have you with us. I'd like to start out by setting the tone for the show. You're a disaster. All right, so
good start.
That's a strong opening. Oh, goodness gracious.
Almost as good as Joe Pesci's opening statement of My Cousin Vinny.
Yeah.
One of the great movies.
Actually, yes.
It is, yeah.
It actually is terrific.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. So, let's start with this. And I mentioned this yesterday, but I'm going to, and we'll probably go back to it again tomorrow. But today's the day that the University of California Board of Regents is meeting. And this is supposed to be the day that UCLA finds out officially how much money they have to pay Cal. I would like to point out, I wouldn't give them a dime.
No, I agree.
Okay. And I sit there, and I don't know how the system works. I don't understand how their system works, and I don't even understand why this even, right?
Unfortunately, there are a lot of people that do know the system to a T, and this is why you get things like this that happen.
And when Jeff Tedford was the head coach at Cal, and they had Aaron Rodgers back then, to their credit, they were an extremely competitive outfit. And
even a little bit after Rodgers, when he had Marshawn Lynch, he had a couple other guys.
Exactly.
Still,
I'm just saying, but that's what they're capable of.
Mm-hmm.
And say, for example, they had stayed on that path. Same thing with Stanford. Say they each had stayed on the path that they were on. Then I think they actually would have been candidates for the Big Ten. They're both great research schools. They're AAU schools. And they could have brought something to the table that was exciting. But the bottom line is, they aren't. Neither one of them is very good. And when you look at where they are right now, they're not trying. Something that is always important. Something that is always important is that you should always go out with the idea of attempting to finance your expectations. Financing your expectations is so important. If you have low expectations, then your investment is going to be relatively low. Welcome to Cal Berkeley Athletics.
Absolutely.
They haven't put a lot into it. Meanwhile, UCLA, which is looking for the bailout, okay, I'm talking about the bailout from the Big Ten TV contract, is now going to be stuck with $10 million a year for the next 6 years, $60 million if they go through with the recommendation that was made. Again, this was a recommendation. Okay? Michael Drake is asking the Board of Regents. He is the University of California president. Michael Drake is asking the Board of Regents to require UCLA to pay $10 million a year. You're in the state you're in because you have not been, because you actually have financed your expectations. You don't have any expectations, so you're not financing it. That's why Penn State next week will have a vote on the Beaver Stadium project. Again, you are financing your expectations. And that's so important, okay, in what you're trying to do. You want to play in the big leagues, right? You want to go for national championships, you have to put the investment in. It's very difficult to do it the Oakland A's way. The Oakland A's way, which, hey, they did it with Moneyball. The whole thing was adorable. Okay, well, they got to the playoffs, which is great, but they couldn't get any further than that.
No.
I mean, look who's been winning. Who's been winning? Texas Rangers threw a lot of money.
Yep.
Houston. Yankees.
Yep.
Right, well, the Yankees haven't won, but the Red Sox.
They've a history of winning at least.
Yeah. Right. And these guys are sitting there saying that they were damaged by the move. Well, they're able to make the move because, number one, the contract ran out. The grant of rights ran out. You had no TV contract. Okay? USC and UCLA looked around and said, you know what? We can do better than this. We can do better than this. And they did. Oregon and Washington also saw this when they were sat down and the chaotic day in, was it August last year?
Yeah. Yep.
The chaotic day where it looked like they were going to get a TV deal. And it was going to be with Apple. All streaming. Except the Apple contract had no provision in it. Well, actually had a provision in it, no over the air. In other words, it had to be them or no one. And it was like $23 to $25 million a year. Well, USC and UCLA, of course, were already out of this. That's when Oregon and Washington looked around and said, hey, we need the lifeboat too. And they had already been vetted by the Big Ten because they were vetted by the Big Ten 1 year earlier, so it made the process exponentially easier. Right? They're going to get $30 million or $32 million or something like that. It's going to increase by $1 million each year for the next 6 years. Right? It's not going to be as much as everyone else, but it's the long-term security they're looking for. Right? So in 2022, it was December of 22, the Board of Regents gave its approval for UCLA to go to the Big Ten, but there was a condition. The condition was annual payments to Berkeley, ranging anywhere from $2 million to $10 million. Excuse me, why didn't somebody look around the room and go, let's go $6 million here, that's halfway. What bothers me is when I brought that up yesterday, you went home yesterday and you tried to calculate it out. Frightening. Okay, the final figure is based on an analysis of the media rights package that UCLA was able to get with the Big Ten. So they put together a report, and Drake's office concluded there was approximately a $50 million difference between UCLA's Big Ten contract and Berkeley's contract with the ACC. As a result, he is proposing $10 million a year to make up for it. So UCLA comes to Penn State next year, and part of the deal is that some of those dollars from that TV game will be going to Berkeley. Hey. Well, how about San Diego?
Yeah.
How about UC Davis?
Yeah.
How about there are 10 schools in this deal. So he wants the top end. The annual payments would begin with the 24-25 school year and continue through the end of 29-30, representing, of course, the contract that UCLA has with the Big Ten. That's when it runs out. In the event there is a significant change in revenues and or expenses for either campus, exceeding 10%, UCLA's contribution commitment will return to the regions for further evaluation, according to the report. The Special Committee on Athletics is scheduled to discuss the issue today during its meetings at UC Merced. The full board is expected to again consider the matter on Thursday. The report estimated that the current Big Ten media rights deal will net UCLA better than $60 million a year. Berkeley, by the way, has a reduced payout from the ACC that's $11 million a year, even lower than Florida State. All right. So, according to the report, here's the report. Beyond UCLA's contribution, Cal Athletics will continue to work diligently to be fiscally responsible, priding itself on being able to achieve excellence on and off the playing fields while operating the department in a cost-efficient manner.
It's like the 70-year-old that gets allowance. He's going to be fiscally responsible too, right? That money's not burning a hole in his pocket one bit.
In addition, UC Berkeley is evaluating other solutions to address the financial gap. How about getting better?
Getting better. That helps. Winning cures a lot of things. I've noticed that. It's one of the best cures in sports.
These include the development of new department revenue streams, additional philanthropic support, consolidating athletic scholarships to the campus financial aid and scholarship office, and additional extraordinary payout from athletics-related endowed funds. Here's the bottom line. They're going to be in the same boat in the ACC with this House settlement, okay, which is not in here, which, by the way, UCLA will also have to pay.
Have to pay it, yeah.
Again, part of your responsibility when it comes to forward thinking is that you have to finance your expectations. Exactly how is Cal financed its expectations?
Not one bit.
And yet they're looking for somebody else, an outside entity. Because UCLA, they're an outside entity. I don't care if they're on the California system or not. They're looking at an outside entity to bail them out. Bail them out. Bail yourself out.
Yeah.
I don't get this.
I don't either. It's at all. I'm UCLA. Again, I don't even feel like there's an obligation to pay $6 million. There's not an obligation to pay anything.
Oh, no kidding. I would.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. You're in a spot where.
I see stuff like that and like, look, you know what? You're in your spot because you put yourself in that spot. You
put yourself, exactly.
All right? You're in the spot you're in because you put yourself there. Okay? I mean, last year in basketball, people couldn't wait for Cal to show up in the schedule. I mean, I was stunned at how bad they were at basketball last year.
Terrible.
I mean,
and it's not as if, as a school, you don't. Now, granted, you don't have the rich tradition that is Duke and North Carolina here, but yet they have a tradition in basketball where you have a reputation, at least, that you should live up to. They're not anywhere close.
Right.
Not anywhere close.
Now, Cal last year, to their credit, ended up, once they got the conference play.
Yeah.
I mean, because non-conference, they were 4-7. They got off to a bad start. They ended up 9-11 conference play. And they were better than USC last year. Stanford was 8-12. UW was 9-11. We all know Oregon had a great run. They were 12-8. UCLA, after a really slow start, ended up 10-10 in the Pac-12. But you're in the spot you're in because the perception is you're not trying. And again, I don't know how it's financed.
Right.
How much the university, and I'm talking about athletics, how the university how much they kick in, if there's any autonomy involved there. I don't think there is.
No.
And that's, I just see something like this. I'm baffled by it. I'm just completely baffled by it. Why should you have to finance their athletic department? It's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to your student athletes. Your responsibility is to your coaching staffs. Your responsibility is to your university. Your responsibility is to your campus. All right? It's not your responsibility to take care of Berkeley. It's up to Berkeley's right to take care of Berkeley. I mean, it's a welfare check.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's a sports welfare check. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Totally baffled by this. Now, it's not as if I didn't know it was going to happen, because we talked about it when it first came up. I said, what are you talking about? They have to pay something. All right? Yeah, we're okay with you going. Like, guess what?
Doesn't matter.
No offense. They didn't.
They didn't need your gun.
Understanding. Yeah, but
or your clearance.
My understanding is I didn't think they needed the Board of Regents.
Nope.
Right? We're just going. All right? And that's where it is.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is just... So USC sitting there, private institution, no problem. Oregon, sure. I mean, there's the tie to Oregon State. Washington, there's tie to Washington State. But they were allowed to go.
And you don't see Washington State saying, give us $10 million.
No. Washington State has tried to figure out their own pathways. With
exactly.
Now, they are getting all that great run Oregon made in the NCAA tournament. Washington State and Oregon State are getting all of it.
Yeah. Yep.
Because
Pac-12. Well,
there is
the lack of Pac-12.
Right. But I'm saying the money was earned by a Pac-12 school and will be distributed after they leave.
Yeah.
Well, they're not going to get a dime.
No.
It's like Florida Atlantic. I think Florida Atlantic went to Conference USA.
Yep.
They made the run to the Final Four. Didn't get any of the money.
1 cent.
Nope. Did not. No, they went to the American Conference. Florida Atlantic went to the American, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So I think they were in Conference USA.
And it moved over to the
moved over. So they're Conference USA, and they earned all the money.
Yeah.
Oh, and you end up with nothing. Zero. Hope you enjoyed your trip. Crazy times. Crazy times.
Mm-hmm.
And Florida State, of course, is trying to play out their issue in public. You know what's interesting about that? If you're not a Florida State person, it's a bad look.
Big time. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a bad look.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. If you're a Florida State person, you're behind them all the way.
100%.
You want to get out of this thing, whatever. But anybody else on the outside, including us, you're like going, hey. I know they bring with them the lucrative Florida market. Okay. And they do bring a brand.
They bring a brand. Absolutely. They don't bring a that's the problem.
Now they are working toward it.
And which they got to get. I still think, to me, they got to get if they're going to be in one of the Big Two.
Right.
At least the Big Ten for sure.
Well, the SEC doesn't care.
That's what I mean. SEC doesn't really care.
I'm not even sure there are any. Vanderbilt is.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure anybody else in the SEC is in the AAU.
No.
because that was always people like they should have gotten Texas. Texas is not an AAU
school either. No, and obviously what Florida State is doing, I think you're going to probably see from North Carolina very soon. I think that's going to be another part of it, and obviously Clemson's same thing. But yeah, what Florida State's doing is looking worse. If you're not, you're absolutely right. Looking great, looking worse from the outsiders looking in, looking great for those that are supporting Florida State. Absolutely.
I don't know. It's
I would not be shocked if we see the same exact thing with North Carolina coming very soon. And I think
North Carolina wants to play kind of cool.
I think they do until they have to force the issue, which I think at some point they're going to try to do.
I mean, low key, they do have the issue of being locked in with NC State,
right?
And that's they look. And you're okay. So let's talk about ESPN for a moment. What? There is no incentive on their part, zero, to. Oh, well, you know what? Let's negotiate a new deal with the ACC.
Yeah.
No, we need our money for the NBA contract.
NBA contract, a lot of other contracts.
Right? We need the NBA and college football playoff contract. Again, need to have, nice to have. ACC is nice to have. NBA's need to have. ACC is nice to have. Right? Which means there's no desire on their part to renegotiate anything.
Yeah.
They already own the ACC network. And I'm struggling to think that is profitable.
No.
And that's why they signed the second grant of rights.
Yeah.
So they could form the ACC
exactly.
network. Okay. So we'll see what they want to do with each of those. The playoffs last night.
Second game was a good
Shai
one.
Gilgeous-Alexander led the NBA this year in fourth quarter scoring. And last night in Dallas, when they needed him to turn up the juice in the fourth quarter, he did.
Yeah, sure did.
And they won last night by 4 over Dallas. They rallied from a double-digit deficit to eventually win. And that series is tied at 2 going back to Oklahoma City.
Yeah, and that's playing out as I think we both thought same thing. I think good chance it goes 7 games. It'd be a tough series both ways. And I think you're seeing great series.
Yeah. So, and then now some of the TV things are starting to leak out a little bit.
Yes.
Okay, so let's these are the ESPN ones.
Yeah.
So I mean, Penn State. I mean, well, certainly West Virginia could be one, but I think it's going to be on Fox.
I do too.
Florida State, Georgia Tech, Florida A&M, Norfolk State. It's on ABC, so settle yourself. North Dakota State, Colorado. Why?
Get Coach Prime early and often. That's the mentality.
Temple, Oklahoma. TCU, Stanford, Clemson, Georgia. So this gets us up to the opening weekend. Miami and Florida, Colorado State, Texas, Western Kentucky at Alabama. Remember, they have the SEC contract
SEC
now.
Contract, yep.
Notre Dame at Texas A&M. That'll be Saturday night, August 31st at 7:30.
Suspected that was going to be the case.
USC is at LSU.
That'll be the Monday
game. LSU's the home team, so ESPN gets the game. And Boston College at Florida State on Monday, September 2nd, Labor Day. We get to see the Bill O'Brien debut at Boston College against the team that doesn't want to be there. Yeah.
And USC is what? That's the USC, the Sunday game, USC LSU?
That is a Sunday game.
Yeah,
that game is going to be Sunday night at 7:30 in Las Vegas. Yeah. In Las Vegas, where I believe you have a luxury suite.
And they comp it all out, I'll tell you. Like the high rollers.
Yeah.
You spend more than you make, but that's okay. As long as you get the free room.
Again, you're always looking for the comps.
That's right.
You're always looking for the comps. And then Fox made its 3 selections, I believe.
Yes.
I know you're shocked, but you'll find that Ohio State, Michigan happens to be one of them.
Happened to be that first one. It's not often they make that as their first pick.
What are you getting? 15 million viewers, 15 to 17 million viewers for that dang thing?
Yeah.
I mean, that's big. And, you know, everybody complains about the noon kickoff, which I totally understand from a fan's point of view, showing up at the stadium, the whole deal. That I get. I understand that. But Fox was trying to find a spot to take care of business. And they finally settled in and put the big games at noon. Well, the reason they put the big games at noon was because that was the time slot they started winning. They don't win 3:30. They don't win 7:30. They don't win 10:30.
No.
And that's why they started doing that.
Absolutely.
Over and over again. And let's see, Fox big noon kickoffs. There are 3 that they've announced. Texas at Michigan on September 7th. Alabama at Wisconsin on September 14th. You knew Fox would take that because guess what they don't get after that?
Yep.
They don't get Alabama.
Yep.
And then Michigan and Ohio
Yep.
State. Those are the 3 that they have selected to this point. Look, the Big Ten, take your cues from what the NFL does. They did it with the contracts.
Mm-hmm.
They did it with the contracts. Fox, CBS, NBC, that's taking a cue from the NFL way of doing things.
Sure.
Okay? And then you add in BTN and the supplement of Peacock with NBC. Yeah. So they did it the way the NFL does it. I mean, they're really the only ones out there that have an NFL-style television contract. And it's terrific. I mean, NBC does a great job. Noah and Todd are great.
Terrific.
Brad and Gary are great for CBS. You know, we all know, Gus and Joel.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Fox, BTN is a terrific lineup. And they already have an NFL model. Well, guess what? Have some fun. Yeah, you got BTN.
Mm-hmm.
Use it.
Show it, yeah.
No, I'm saying show the schedule.
The schedule, absolutely.
Show the schedule being drawn up.
Yeah.
Right?
Now you're not entirely going to know everything because these guys are going to take weeks.
You can announce 6 games.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can announce 6 games in the draft and explain at the end. Hey, from now on, there's going to be.
They took a week, and there could be 2 options here. Yeah. But for the most part,
Televise it.
Yeah,
Let
big games,
Let people see it. The NFL is going to.
I agree.
What day did they finally settle this?
I think it's tomorrow.
Is it tomorrow?
I think tomorrow's the scheduled release.
Right.
Yeah, we're seeing obviously some early ones.
They always do that.
Yeah.
That's not an issue. I think the Browns Cowboys is supposed to be the Brady debut.
Yeah, Browns Cowboys, Niners Jets, and Chiefs Ravens.
Niners and Jets.
Niners Jets are the first Monday nighter. Yeah.
Come on, that's just.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted the Jet. I mean. Rodgers is exciting.
Yeah.
Olu-Fashanu is exciting.
Yep.
Right? The opponent is just
the opponent is terrible. Yeah, it's especially the fact that you're going to the. I'll tell you what.
What if that game goes to overtime? What are you going to do then? It's a little different rules.
That's true. I'm not sure they know the rules. Well, they know the regular season rules of overtime, not so much the playoffs.
Isn't that part of the job?
I think it's a big part of the job. I think it's usually you work on that. Usually you take a day of practice to work on that, typically. Most good coaches. Yeah, it's usually how it works.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just.
But you have, obviously, the intrigue of Robert Saleh going up against San Francisco, and then you have Aaron Rodgers.
He hasn't coached there in years.
He hasn't coached there in years, but he still was the defensive coordinator the last time prior to last year, they were in the Super Bowl. But yeah, obviously you have Rodgers' return, which is the most intriguing part of it. You have the defending NFC champions. I think it's a good matchup. I think it'll be interesting to see what the rest of the schedule for Week 1 brings. But yeah, the Tom Brady debut is going to be the Cowboys and Browns, 425. I do like the Chiefs-Ravens matchup. I think it's a good one. I think the Ravens got better. The Chiefs are the Chiefs.
Henry is going to be an interesting
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I think so too. And they're healthier too. I think Andrews is obviously going to be fully back. Yeah, we'll see.
Nobody wants to watch the 49ers.
No.
Jeez, everybody watched that game for the Chiefs.
No, that's what it was. Well, I never watched that game for Taylor Swift. I'm not sure they watched it entirely for the Chiefs either.
I don't know.
And they've set themselves up, obviously, for a good opening weekend. I still hate that Friday night is on Peacock, but yeah, I think you set up, obviously.
You know what?
What drives me nuts about it, you've made the point, what drives me nuts about it the most is you're taking a home game away from the Eagles, and most importantly, you're taking the Packers. If it's the Eagles and the Commanders, you can't have the Giants, because you're going to build that Giants matchup with Barkley now. But you could have done the Commanders. You could have even maybe done the Cowboys, as much as I would not agree with that either, because I don't think you take that game away from the Link. I think the Commanders would have been the ideal opponent. You take away a team that is at the Link every year. You don't take away an opponent that comes there once every 4 years, especially an opponent the caliber of the Packers, and put it in Brazil. But that's just my thoughts.
I agree with you completely. Yeah. And then putting it on Peacock makes it worse.
Makes it worse. And you're going to it does sound like Boomer Esiason was onto something. I think there's a good chance you're going to have 2 games on Netflix on Christmas Day.
But if I'm sitting
so why am I doing? Why do you do that?
I'm the executive at Fox.
Yeah,
I'm saying that's a regular season game. I already paid for that game.
Yeah,
I already paid for it.
Yeah, ridiculous.
You're gonna put it on Netflix?
Ridiculous.
I can tell you right now, ridiculous. I'm not watching it on Netflix.
Not watching it.
Nope.
Not watching it.
Nope. Not gonna do it.
Not watching it. No, same here. Yeah. You have other options, and it's the NBA. Last I checked, is not well. It could be on could be a game on Amazon, but I don't think they're going to put their whole slate of their biggest day, without question, on streaming TV. No, that's the NBA's biggest day of the year, hands down.
Right. I know.
Yeah, that's there's other options. And that's the point that I think so many of these organizations are missing. There's other options.
Yeah.
And people will have the alternative option. They'll do it every time if they have to.
You
can't force people to pay if they don't want to pay. And that's what the NFL, I think, is reaching the point where it's walking a fine line. There's no question they are increasing their revenue as much as they possibly can. They feel they're invincible, and that's fine. But it's going to reach a point where that's not going to happen anymore.
Well, my point has been on the Dolphins-Chiefs playoff game.
Yeah.
Which, full disclosure, I watched. All right?
Mm-hmm.
I watched. You had 23 million. Record streaming number. Well, it sounds great.
Mm-hmm. Aside from the fact it would have been 46 if it was on TV.
Then you start looking at the other games and how many they drew. Essentially, you cut off 15 to 20 million potential viewers.
A Saturday 4:30 game is going to outdrew.
Yes.
Outdrew that game.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And that's 2 of the lesser, and that's taking nothing away from.
That was the Browns and Texans.
Exactly. That's taking nothing away from the Texans. I think they have a lot of great young talent. They don't have that marketing image that the Chiefs and Dolphins do. It's not even close.
Well, Joe Flacco's a draw.
Oh, Joe Flacco's, sure. Joe Flacco's a draw.
He's way better than the quarterbacks you've had for years. Last I checked,
49ers worked out Joe Flacco 2 years ago.
If I recall correctly,
he beat the 49ers in the Super Bowl.
I was about to say that. Didn't that happen? I'm trying to think with your teams.
Yeah.
Your teams are not.
He played lights out that game too, if I remember correctly.
He played great. Well, lights out for another reason.
That's true. That's true.
All I can picture is the guy in the movie Airplane holding the plug. When the runway lights go out, it's like, okay, great.
That's why it's as annoying as it is and the comparison's going to be there for the NBA to have as much reviews as they do, because that lights out gave proof. You give the team more than an extra timeout. You give them intermission to prepare. 49ers, and look, I'm saying this as a fan, they're getting thumped in that game. No end in sight of that. I think that game was a blowout if the lights don't go out.
Okay.
Same with these reviews in the NBA. Team doesn't have a timeout. You're giving them a free timeout to drop a play. I hate it.
I think they found Jack Harbaugh's fingerprints on
They may have. They may have. Thankfully, didn't find mine. I couldn't believe the amount of people that had me as the suspect.
And justifiably
That's
so.
true. True.
Yeah. But Eagles, Packers, Peacock.
I don't like it.
Like, what are you doing?
I don't like it. You want to do a Friday night game in Brazil? Go for it. Not a game of that caliber.
No.
Not on Peacock. No way. I can't. You can't do it. And I get that you're trying to shove streaming down people's throats. You're not succeeding.
No, it's not succeeding.
And that's what the biggest point of it. You're not doing it.
Right? You're not succeeding.
The people that want to do it are doing it. The people that don't aren't. You're not swaying them over.
Okay, guess what? You put the game on NBC with a streaming option on Peacock. That's how you maximize.
Sure.
The entire point is to maximize audience.
Absolutely.
That's the point.
Absolutely.
Where can I draw the most people? You don't cut off part of the population to do it. And look,
and you're talking about two of the best fan bases in football there. I may argue most passionate in Green Bay, and I will argue top 3 in Philadelphia.
Oh, no. I mean, Santa Claus knows.
Well, absolutely. Santa knows well. I still think they ought to just have Dollar Dog Day on Christmas Day.
That's what I said, Dollar Dog Day, and shower Santa would love.
I like how it takes hitting the Philly fanatic to get rid of dollar dogs. Forget about the 400 fans that got clubbed with them.
These are your people. These are your people.
Oh, boy. Yeah, dollar dogs.
Do you ever wake up and worry about yourself?
Constantly.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. Perfect. At some point, and I'm going to talk to Pat Kraft about this. I want to know what the impediment is. I'm sure it's an NCAA rule, but if that's the case, they need to change it. Remember when Penn State goes all in on Nike?
Yeah.
And the world famous swoosh shows up on the football uniform, and the outcry. They defaced it. It's awful. It's terrible. That stick. It's swoosh. In other words, Penn State, which, by the way, didn't pay any money for the uniforms. That swoosh. It just it's ruining our uniforms. Da, 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 da. Okay. Well, you have to come up with 15 to 20 million.
Yeah.
You need to make a dent in it. Nice little 3x3 logo of some commercial entity. You look at this. You're watching the Celtics game last night. Vistaprint. It's on the uniform. It's not oppressive. I mean, my goodness, even the New York Yankees have a patch on the sleeve of whomever their sponsor happens to be. Mm-hmm. So how much is the sponsorship worth? In some cases in the NBA, it's worth $10 to $15 million a year. If you have to pay $15 to $20 million a year, is it possible for you to do that, say, at Penn State, with the rules being open to it, and to make up that money to go into that fund?
Yeah. And the other part of it, obviously you can't really do it with football. It'd be a little more difficult, but basketball, put it right on the court. Put a sponsor on the
sure
court.
You can. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'd put it right on the court, and that's another way to generate it. Madison Square Garden innovated it, I think, in a big way by putting Chase on MSG, and other people have followed.
Right, exactly. Just very quickly, when you look at Major League Baseball, now they're doing it as part of the collective bargaining agreement. Okay. And per season is about $12 million. Okay. So uniform sponsorship values per game. TV exposure, 13.8 minutes Major League Baseball, MLS 10.6 minutes, NBA 5.6 minutes, NHL 5.9 minutes. Right? They say that for Major League Baseball, you're getting $76,234 of sponsorship per game. Okay? So the approval of sponsorship sleeve patches, Major League Baseball, part of the latest collective bargaining agreement between the league and the Players Association. Shortly after the new agreement was signed, the Padres became the first team to enlist a sponsor, agreeing to a multi-year deal with Motorola for $10 million a year. Okay. By the end of the season, Nielsen projects the sleeve asset alone will deliver a 1.5 to 1 return on Motorola's rights fee investment. Wow. Given the metro areas they support, sponsorship patches for the Yankees, Dodgers, and Giants jerseys would generate the highest. They are projected to average $24 million for the upcoming season. So what would the media sponsorship be that you would put on a Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan jersey?
Sure.
I mean, all those close-ups of the quarterback and the shotgun, guy scoring touchdowns.
Yeah, absolutely. Sideline, any kind of sideline view.
It's something. Yeah. It's something that needs to be considered because you need to balance the sheet on this. Again,
absolutely.
That's how I look at it. And the NCAA has to open up that door and let the schools do it.
Yeah, I agree.
Just a thought.
I think it's a good thought. Absolutely.
Well, it was another fun time with you.
Always a blast.
I guess we'll talk tomorrow.